All right, so I'm jumping in here in the deep end with a new software, actually old software that I'm using again, OBS. And I also got this neat little thing, this Stream Deck, which is nice. Can you see that there? It's it makes it easier for me to switch between web, headshots, images. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. So I'm trying to up my game in 2023, actually. 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to really grow this channel. It started as just a channel for my students, where I would interview educators and researchers, and then show it to my kids. I shouldn't say kids. I teach adults, so show it to my students. And but then I realized I like doing it, and so I decided to do interviews and then put them out to the world and try and grow the channel. And so I did. I did grow it a little bit. It got over 1,000 subscribers, which is a kind of a benchmark, I guess, for advertising and stuff. And so that was all cool. And then life happened, and I had a lot of work to do. So last year, no, this year, 2022, I didn't do as much as I'd like. But yeah, I'm gonna up my game. So I got some new lighting. I got this Stream Deck. I'm using an old webcam, but I went onto this website, the same website that I got the Stream Deck from, and they're coming out with this really cool webcam. So I'm gonna get that as soon as that's out, and then that'll improve the quality of my video. In any case, that's nice. So I'm just kind of jumping in here with the live stream, and I'm gonna talk about this Libs of TikTok person, Chaya Raichik. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm titling this live stream, Misunderstandings, Distortions, and Lies. But really it's distortions and lies. I used to think it was misunderstandings. I used to think that a lot of these culture warriors who were saying things about education, that would be Chris Rufo and James Lindsay in particular, and then now Raichik talking about groomers in education and schools. I thought that they were misunderstanding things. That's what I used to think. I was naive, I guess. And so I would try and explain. Like, no, you got it wrong. See, this is what's happening. This was me like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, when James Lindsay and Peter Boghossian and Helen Pluckrose came out with this Sokol squared, what would I call it? Expose or something? It has a name, hoax. Like they went and they wrote these ridiculous articles, and they got a few of them published in journals, and that was meant to show that there was something really wrong in gender studies and critical studies departments and journals. And so I would be the person who'd say, well, wait, you got it wrong here, guys. This is actually what's happening. I would try and explain the situation and add nuance, because I thought that they were just, they weren't. Boghossian is in academia, but not in those departments. Pluckrose is not in academia, and Lindsay is not in academia, even though I think he has a PhD in mathematics. He does have a PhD in mathematics. So I was thinking that, okay, they're not in those settings, so they don't exactly know what's going on. It could just be a misunderstanding, right? So let me educate and clear that misunderstanding up. That was naive and stupid, basically, because it took me a while to realize that they were activists. And as I'll talk about later, if you're an activist, there's an incentive for you to lie to generate the engagement, or distort things dramatically, and that's what they did. So someone who is in that space with Pluckrose, Boghossian, Lindsay, all those guys, Jordan Peterson, Gad Sad, that space, they'll come out of it thinking that academia is just this horrible place where it's just a bunch of groupthink and you can't get anything published, that doesn't follow along a certain path, and that's just not true, right? And I tried, and I thought that was a misunderstanding, but I was wrong. It was because these people were conservative activists, and they needed to distort things in order to get that engagement. Okay, so it's not about misunderstandings. It's about distortions and lies. And what I would like to do is play. First, I'm going to show some images here, I think. use my Stream Deck so I can move to it quickly. Now here's Chris Rufo and here's James Lindsay. These are two lies. Okay, the one on the left, Rufo, he's lying about what critical race theory is, and he told the world. This is like a famous tweet now. I've seen this tweet in so many different YouTube channels and in so many articles, where Chris Rufo is telling Conceptual James, this is in a reply to James Lindsay, that the goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. So anything, he wants everything to be critical race theory, right? We have decodified the term. I don't know who we is, I guess conservatives, I don't know. And we'll recodify it to annex the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans. I don't know what he means. I guess cultural constructions means woke stuff. I don't know, But anything that's taught in schools that people don't like, he wants it to be called critical race theory. Now, why would you just lie like that? Like why would you decide to intentionally misrepresent something? I mean, I get why. I just wish that wasn't, that he didn't feel he had to do that. He should have come at it honestly, because look, there are ways, and let me kind of I'll come back to that in a minute. I wrote a piece a year or so ago about how we can talk about race in these legitimate ways and also teach what the values that we have as Americans. We can do both. And if Chris Rufo would have said, look, that's not critical race theory. I understand that, parents, people of color, and educators, and then the kids of people of color, they want to talk about race in these more modern, nuanced ways. They don't want to dumb it down with just talking about Martin Luther King and then that's it. There's no more racism. Let's talk about the reality of whiteness and white privilege and systemic racism. We can talk about that, and we can also teach our young kids what it means to be an American. In other words, and this is what I wrote in that piece, you can teach about white privilege, which I guess is one of the cultural constructions or something that Chris Rufo was talking about. But Chris Rufo could have said, you can teach about white privilege because it's a thing. It's not made up. We know it's there. So we can teach about the reality of it. At the same time, we can say that in America, in modern America, we value treating people by who they are as a person and not by their skin color. So we're trying to understand how skin color operates so that we can deal with it. I mean, you can do both. You can do both. I mean, I agree with a lot of conservative arguments when they say that sometimes educators can be a bit too critical of America without also talking about some of the good things. And so he could have entered that debate honestly in that way and say, I just want to make sure that kids understand that these are the values we have as Americans. These are good values, and I want to make sure that they know them even as we talk about race. And he didn't do that. He didn't do that. And then on the right, here's James Lindsay with another lie. I mean, this is ridiculous. So here's James Lindsay. The term for teachers who are just trying to, and then in quotes, create a non-threatening, inclusive learning environment where elementary school children will feel safe to express their sexuality freely is groomers. Now, why would you do that? You've got a 31-year-old teacher who loves her kids, who understands that there are kids out there who are gender fluid, who are gay, who are queer in a variety of ways, and they want to teach that to their kids. That's not grooming. It's just not. Now, what people will do is they'll say something like, well, if you look at grooming in this way, because you're introducing the idea of sex to kids, then yes, you can see it as grooming. This kind of rationale. No, it's a lie. If I say to someone that, hey, my neighbor is a pedophile, And then sometime later say, well, see, by pedophile I mean that this person tends to like to watch cartoons or something. Just make up, like, stretch the meaning of pedophile. It's a lie. If I call my neighbor, I don't think he is. If I call my neighbor a pedophile, I'm lying. And if you're calling kids, I'm sorry, if you call educators groomers because they're teaching about sex and gender, it's a lie. It's not a distortion. It's a lie. I don't even know why we accept it. It's really troublesome, actually. I mean, the reality is that people are gender fluid and can be gay. And it's important that young people realize that we need to we need to interact with people who are different in positive pro-social ways. So teaching kids that is a good thing. So the same way I said that Chris Rufo could have entered that debate more honestly about CRT instead of just lying like that. People who are concerned about the rise in young people saying that they're trans, or the emphasis on now teaching about sex and gender identity in schools, they're concerned about that. Enter into that debate honestly. Say, look, I'm actually, again, I kind of agree with conservatives on a lot of this. I got a lot of pushback from a lot of my progressive friends when I came out and said that when I came out, it sounds like I'm about to say when I came out of the closet, but no, I'm not gay. But anyway, when I came out and said that I don't like sex ed being taught at young ages, because I think that the act of sex is unique. Not only can you potentially create a life, but we as species use sex as a way of, I mean, it's not a joke, right? We use it to connect with people. It's a serious thing, right? And so I think that should be something. And I was also concerned about sex ed being how to have sex better. That's the way I see it. So if I look at a sex ed curriculum that's taught to someone in 8th or 9th grade, I think that's when they start teaching it maybe. It's never, here are the ways that you can form a relationship without having sex and develop a meaningful relationship with someone. They don't do that. Instead, they talk about how to have safe sex, which is fine. I mean, kids are going to have sex, but it needs to be a more well-rounded curriculum, because what they're doing is basically telling to me now, a sex ed program that's just about teaching kids how to have sex safely is telling them that they should be having sex at that age. That's the implication to me. So I didn't like that, right? And so in this way, I agree with many conservatives who can be uneasy with the teaching of sexual topics at young ages. But there's something that these people who want to use groomers, who wants to call educators groomers, there's a way that they could have gone about this that I think would have been more legitimate, more honest. They could have said, okay, if you want to teach young people about the varieties of sexual and gender identity, teach them that, okay, people could be gay, you don't need to treat them differently. People could be gender fluid, you don't need to treat them differently. People can be trans, you don't need to treat them differently, which I think they need to do. That's a pro-social way of being in this diverse society. Separate that from teaching the act of sex. That's it. That's all. Like that's the way I approach it. If I don't have kids, but I would not like it if I had a son or daughter and at the age, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade, whatever age that is, they're talking about the physical act of sex. I would not like that. I would not like that at all. I don't think they're doing that. I don't. I'm just saying if that was the case, and maybe there's some very liberal school districts that are doing that. I don't know. But I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it. But I can separate from the teaching of sex and gender identity. And I don't have to call, this to me, innocent teacher, 32-year-old teacher who loves her kids, just got her master's degree from State U, sitting in the classroom trying to teach a 1st or 2nd grader that there can be 2 dads and there can be 2 mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to call that person a groomer. That's a lie, and that's wrong, right? And I don't know. It just bothers me. So in any case, I guess to sum up what I've said so far is both Rufo with CRT and Lindsay with this groomer business are lying. And it seems as if, I mean, some people care, but a lot of people don't even see it that way. But it's a lie. Now, I want to show a clip here. This is, how do I pronounce this person's name? Chaya Raichik, I believe. Chaya Raichik. Let me see here. Chaya Raichik. Okay. So Miss Raichik was on Tucker Carlson. She now shows her face. She's the owner of the Libs of TikTok account, an account that I'm blocked, that has blocked me, by the way. Chris Rufo has also blocked me. So apparently I'm very unpopular with these folks. In any case, Miss Raichik appeared on Tucker Carlson. And to see the full video, you would have to be a subscriber, a paid subscriber to Fox News, I believe. And obviously I'm not doing that. But the Young Turks was talking about it earlier, and they posted clips. So this is a clip from the Young Turks from Tucker Carlson in his interview with Chaya Raichik, and I'm just going to show these 60 seconds here. It's about 60 seconds.
The LGBTQ community has become this cult, and it's so captivating, and it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen. And they brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things. We discuss like why this is happening, what's happening, and whatever. And I think sometimes the simplest answer is like, they're just evil. They're bad people. They're just evil people.
Now, okay. I don't think anybody, if they sit down and think about it, will believe that all queer people are some cult trying to brainwash people. That's not what's happening. And she knows that's a lie. They're not trying to sexualize children. It's just a flat out lie. And people on Fox News will see that and go, yeah. I mean, it just really bothers me. It's also very bigoted, right? Because you're saying an entire class of people is evil. Like, it doesn't matter. You're queer, you're evil. What? What, every gay person you know is evil? Every trans person you know is evil? Every gender fluid person? I mean, come on. It's just crazy. I guess the only good people are straight people. I don't know. It's very unfortunate that this is where we are in society today, where we can't have real, honest discussions about things, that people have to lie. So now I want to transition a little bit and talk about why this is. Why the lies? And I think it's a two-parter, right? One is, okay, if you're an activist, you can't be bothered with the truth. You just can't. I mean, this is left and right? And by that, I don't mean that you go out and intentionally lie, but I mean you have to frame an issue in the best way possible for your cause. I remember I was on a podcast with Aaron Rabinowitz. I forgot the name of his podcast, ETV Pod. And I think he was a little unsettled by me saying that the people in the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm not talking about the organization, just activists in general, are probably aware of the stats that when it comes to killings, just killings now, there's really no racial difference. And so they're aware of that, but they don't talk about that. Now, is that a lie? I don't know. This is probably one of those distortions. Lying would be to just say that that's not, to just tell a statistical lie. They're not doing that. They're just not talking about the fact that black killings and white killings are about equal. There's not that much of a racial difference. At least that's what the last thing I read, but people are going to keep doing studies, and maybe I'm wrong about that in the future, but that's what I have understood. So as an activist, if you're advocating for changes in policing based on racism in police, then you have to show that. Like, you can't say that there's no racial. So and it's not as if people in that movement are lying, though. They're just not publicizing that fact. Instead, what they do is they rightfully point out the decades of police aggression and over policing in Black and brown communities, which is absolutely true. There's a qualitative difference between policing in urban neighborhoods, Black and brown urban neighborhoods, and white suburban neighborhoods. Police are nicer in the suburbs. Meanwhile, in Black and brown neighborhoods, people will talk to you like a dog. And they assume that you are a criminal. And so there is something that needs to be done. I'm an advocate for police reform. And I understand why an activist may not play up the fact that when it comes to just killings, all right, it's important to realize that, because people will point out this research by Roland Fryer showing that in the police precincts that he looked at, there was no racial difference. But Fryer also pointed out that when it came to non-lethal aggression, Black people were more likely to be aggressed than whites. People forget that part. Anyway, so I understand why activists wouldn't point that out. So Rufo, Lindsay, and Chaya, gosh, I wish I was better with that person's name. Libs of TikTok person. They're all activists. They're conservative activists. And it is in their best interest to distort the truth. Now, the problem with them, though, is that because what they want to narrate is so far from the truth. So it's not like the Black Lives Matter person not highlighting the fact that whites are killed at about the same rates. It's not that. Instead, these conservative activists have to create their own world and sell it to the public, right? And it's completely distorted. It's completely divorced from reality, and that's what makes it a lie. There are no groomers. There is no this idea that high school teachers were teaching critical race theory was a lie from the start. Anyway, I mean, in fact, it was such a lie until some people started to try and justify it. Say, well, it's not really critical race theory, something like it, or so. I think John McWhorter called it CRT light in an op-ed or something. But look, you started with the lie, just straight up. So he. Those activists have to distort reality so much until it's just completely disingenuous, right? So that's one thing. You're an activist, so you have to distort reality. In the conservatives' case, it's a lie, okay? But the second part, I think, is us. It's like we like hyperbole. We like it when people present opposing views in the worst possible way. We get hyped up for that. If Jink or Anna said her first name, I don't know, or last name. In any case, if Miss Raichik was on Tucker Carlson and she said, "Okay, Tucker, first I have to say that the majority of teachers are just simply, teaching how young people should deal with sexual and gender diversity, and they're doing their best. They're working hard. Teaching is a hard job, Tucker, and often they're underpaid. So I'm not really trying to focus on that. Instead, I want to deal with my concerns about about inappropriate material for kids." That ain't flying. No one wants to hear that. That's not hyperbole. That's not demonizing. That's not doing the things that get us involved. And so we are actually a part of that. We can demand from people honesty. Like all of James Lindsay's followers, I am sure a large percentage of them know, or Chris Rufo was a better example because it's so clear from that tweet that he sent out. His 700 and something thousand followers know that, okay, Chris, you lied here. Chris, I agree with you that we need to maybe think about how we're teaching race in schools. And I agree with you on that point. But could you tone down on the line? Can you narrate this in a better way? So, so that we're not demonizing people and stuff. We're not going to do that. The audience doesn't want to do that. The audience just wants to go, yeah, you're right. It's like the Trump phenomenon, right? I mean, I've seen many people try and get Republicans and Trump supporters to call out his bigotry or racism. And what they'll do is, I remember I was on the Young Turks. Jink had Larry Elder on and asked Elder about Trump's numerous racist comments. And Elder was like, I don't always like what he says, but, we can't be like that. We got to hold our thought leaders accountable. I mean, if people are doing things that are wrong, if this person is lying, they're lying. Just tell them that. No, you're wrong here, buddy, or miss. I mean, I generally am in accordance with your views, but I would rather you come at this honestly so that we can have an honest debate. And finally, that's what matters. So those are the two reasons, right? Why these lies are so prevalent. One, you got to get engagement, and two, the audience likes it, right? Now, to kind of wrap this up here, the sad part is if those folks would come at this honestly, then we can have an honest debate, or an honest discussion, I should say, and possibly come to some better solutions. There are many parents out there who would say, yes, I don't want sex being taught at young ages. Are you sure you're not teaching the act of sex or anything like that? You aren't? Okay, fine. I'm cool with it. Like, there are many people who would be happy with that. But because you're not giving them that option, and instead you're saying that educators are groomers, what are they going to do? What kind of discussion is that? There are many parents who would say, look, are you sure you're not, now I'm going to switch to CRT here. Are you sure you're not saying that white folks are inherently racist? Because I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think my kid is inherently racist or inherently bad because he's white. Oh, you're not doing that? Oh, you're doing this instead? Okay, well, let's make sure you're not doing that. And I want you to go ahead and teach what we know about race, right? That's how we could go about it instead of doing stupid things like, banning something you don't even know what you're banning, right? Like they tried to do in Florida with Ron DeSantis. All right, so this was my first live stream with my cool stream deck and my nice lighting. I don't think my glasses are like in the past when I've used different lighting, my glasses would have that glare on it. It looks like, oh, there it is. I thought I could get rid of that. In any case, this was fun actually. This was a lot easier streaming this way. And so if you have some comments, put them in the comment section and I'll try and respond.